Picture this. The journey ahead starts here together, and together we can build a brighter future. You are listening to Illuminating Hope, a podcast of Hope House. Welcome to Illuminating Hope. I'm your host, Tina Johnson, alongside my co-host, MaryAnne Metheny, CEO of Hope House. And today we are so excited to introduce to you former professional boxer, Christy Martin. Christy is the founder of Christy's Champs. It's a growing movement of leaders who work to ensure those who suffer emotional and physical abuse in their families have an outlet to receive education and support that they need to report, share, and overcome violence and live a life free of threats, blackmail, shame, and fear. What was the driving force for you to become a professional boxer, especially in the generation and being a female? I'd love to hear that story.
People said I couldn't, and I'm that one, tell me I can't and sit back and watch. I think now they're saying sit back and take pictures because it's going to happen. That was part of it, and it was just, tell me I can't do it, and then no one else was really doing it. So my career got a little bump, a little more excitement, and a little further along. I was going to say, can't quit now. Maybe we can get to that next level. And then finally I ended up being promoted by Don King, which was crazy, fighting under Mike Tyson, Vander Holyfield, Chavez, Trinidad, all those great legends. So it was pretty awesome.
So talk to me about your training. What did you have to do in order to prepare for boxing matches?
What people don't understand, and it's all professional athletes, but boxing is different. Because it's so much mental, 24/7, 365. You never really get to let your mind rest. Even if you're letting your body rest, your mind is. So I was out there doing road work every morning, long distance runs, sprints. Then we would be in the gym, sparring, hitting the mitts, hitting the heavy bag, learning the speed bag, jump rope, all the things that it takes. And then, I watched fights. I was a great fan, a really big fan. And because being a female fighter, I was always nervous that someone was going to ask me about an old-time fighter. So I did a lot of reading, a lot of studying. I watched a lot of old fight films. So I would be prepared. And when they asked me about who's Willie Pett, I could tell you. When they asked me about who's Gene Fulmer, when they asked me about these guys, I could tell you something about them, their weight class, their fights they had. I wanted to be able to give a little bit so they knew I was serious about my job. I wasn't just there for the attention or whatever that the promotion may be giving me. I wanted to be a fighter, and I wanted to be a good fighter.
As you know, when we first met, I didn't know very much about boxing at all. But it does feel like you really brought this to people in general because being a woman, being the first woman really, you really made a name for yourself. How did you adjust to all of that fame and being in the spotlight? Because you also tell me that you're an introvert and you not necessarily like all the attention, but you really drew a lot of attention. You still do. How was that transition for you?
It was just totally crazy. Because when I tell people that I'm from a very small town in southern West Virginia, I'm truly a coal miner's daughter. My town is 1 mile long. 1 mile long. There's fewer people in my town than in most neighborhoods. So to go from there to fighting at Madison Square Garden, promoted by Don King, getting, on the Jay Leno show, doing all this awesome stuff. It's so out of my league that I can't even put words to it. Because you dream, growing up, you're dreaming, maybe I'll do this. Practice my autograph while I was in college. Didn't know what I was going to do. I had no idea what I was going to do, but I would practice my autograph. It's just, you can't dream as big as the stuff that happened to me.
Right.
And of course, just to fight on the Tyson cars, on Showtime, on HBO. Anything with Don King is awesome. And to get to go back now. I'm still working with Don King. Don King is 92 years old.
Oh
I just commentated on a show that he had in December. It's a lot of excitement. It's a lot of fun. And then I get to take my fighters to Don King shows and introduce my fighters to Don King. And they're like, oh my God. Do you really know him? Yeah, so it's cool. It's awesome. And again, my degree is in education. So my plan for life would have been teaching school in southern West Virginia, maybe coaching basketball. My life has been a lot different than that.
It took a very different turn. Talk a minute about Don King, if you're comfortable with that, because he is this presence that is so big. And I do have a little bit of that, you know him? What is he like? I understand that.
She's fangirling over here.
So talk about if you're comfortable talking about him and what that was like.
The very first time I met him, I'm sitting across the table, called negotiating a contract for me. And I'm thinking, are you kidding me? I mean, I am a coal miner's daughter, 22 years old, 23 years old, and I'm sitting across the table from Don King. Not only is he like the biggest figure in boxing, but he's a big presence. I mean, it's just Don King walks in the room. Even today at 92 years old, everybody turns their head like, oh my God, it's Don King. Out of my league. But I would have signed a napkin. I would have signed anything. Whatever he pushed across the table, I would have signed it for the opportunity to fight on his shows and be promoted by Don King. So I had a great career with him. I think he clearly gave me a great opportunity, but he just treated me like a fighter. Go out there and fight. It's on you. And that's what I tried to do. He would encourage me to talk a little trash and get some excitement coming into my fight. It's awesome to know Don King. And I talk to him about once a week or once every 2 weeks. I'm still trying to sign fighters with him and still always have his best interest.
So you starred in a Netflix series, The Untold series, which documents your detailed journey. Tell our listeners about that journey and then how you connected with Hope House, and then the why will be answered after you talk about your journeys. What was it like to work with Netflix on that documentary?
Working with Netflix on the documentary was really cool. The Wayans brothers are great. They're doing the Untold series and they're really awesome. They sent a director to me. She was just the best, and she took her time with me. She talked to me and explained every step of the way what was going to happen, why this was going to happen this way, why we couldn't do it this way. So it was good. We have really connected and have a friendship. She comes to a lot of the fights that I promote, and we're going to be friends hopefully for a long time. It was scary. It was scary to put it out there, but I felt like I said in the documentary, God left me here for a reason, and that reason was to share my story and talk to people about domestic violence and to bring awareness to people. I don't want to say they don't care, but people, they don't think about it. If it's not happening in their house, and even with their friends, their friends are putting on a big smile, and sometimes you don't look past that initial smile. You don't look deep enough. But if you listen, pay really close attention, you can sometimes you'll be like, whoa, that didn't sound right. Out to dinner with your friends, and it doesn't always have to be him, it could be her. Constantly putting the other one down. Well, that should throw up a flag, like, man, everything isn't good there. Ask questions. And sometimes it's hard. It's hard because you don't want to feel like you're being nosy in other people's business or relationships. That person just needs you to ask a question sometimes. That's why I did the documentary, and the support and the messages around the world. I mean, it's crazy the number of messages that I have received. And I talk about the biggest surprise. A lot of the messages come from fathers. And they say to me, almost every father says, thank you so much because it gave me an opportunity to open up a conversation with my daughter. I didn't know how to approach this subject. I didn't know what to say or how to talk about it. But through watching your documentary together, I was able to really discuss with her about domestic violence, not just physically, mentally, emotionally, financially. So that makes me proud.
Just in sharing your story, when you talk about domestic violence, I think one of the reasons that people, as you said, it's not that they don't care. I think this is such a hidden thing in our society because people don't want to talk about it because you don't want to think about what another person's capable of doing to someone that they're supposedly loving and in a relationship with. But by you coming out and sharing it's very personal. It's your story, it's your life. And by you sharing that with people, you really do open up the avenue for conversation to take place. And I think not only being a woman, but you're a boxer and you have this notoriety and you're famous, and people really can respect that and can respond to that in ways that just someone who doesn't have that isn't able to necessarily always make those connections. So I think what you've chosen to do with your life is really transformative for people in that you are opening conversations or opening doors for people to step out of the relationships and have opportunities that maybe they wouldn't have had you not been willing to share your story.
Thank you. I hope so. I think that people sometimes will look and say, wow, if it can happen to her, then it can happen to anyone. Right. And it's okay if it happened to her that I reach out and tell somebody that this is happening to me.
I think that's critical. That is absolutely critical that you have allowed people to hear that and then to be able to say, I can do this too.
My story or my life is not different. Someone said to me recently, a woman said to me, if a woman stays in the situation, she deserves what she gets.
Wow.
Whoa.
I said bad words, and I said, I deserve to get shot? Oh, no, your situation was different. I said, no, it wasn't. Because, yes, I had a career. I loved my job. I wanted to keep everything intact. But so does the lady that works at the bank love her job and wants to keep her career. And so does the person that's a school teacher. And so does the person that drives a truck. And so does whether it be male or female out there that's in an abusive situation. They love their job. I mean, and that's why we take it so much. Or we think no one's going to believe us. And mine was a little bit of all of it. I didn't want to lose my job. I didn't want to lose the notoriety, the positive that I felt like I was gaining. But who's going to believe? We don't know. Can I step out and say something to someone? Who? Are they going to come back and say something to him? And then that just makes it worse.
Right.
So just in this whirlwind that you don't know which way is out. That's the answer. But that was a young woman that said that to me too. I couldn't believe it. And I thought, this is what's wrong with our society.
100%.
If you really believe that, then it's going to be really difficult to reach that person, even with all of the education, all of the facts, that if you come from that perspective, then you're not understanding the dynamics of domestic violence at all. And there's a million reasons why someone stays in a relationship. And the number one reason is fear that they're not going to make it out. And that's a very, very valid fear. I don't know how much you want to share about your story right now, but your story also shows how dangerous it can be, how dangerous trying to leave a situation can be, even when you have resources available, which a lot of people don't. But your story shows, just like you've said, that by the grace of God, you're still here.
Well, definitely one of the statistics, right? It's a 2-week time period of trying to leave that women stand the greatest risk of being murdered.
Right.
Yes.
And that was exactly what happened. In 7 days of trying to leave, yes, I had returned back to my house, but that's what tried to kill me. Right. So by stabbing me repeatedly, shooting me, and then he left me for dead. But as I say, God had a bigger plan. That's what we're trying to do now. So I joined up with the Hope House to try to explain to some of these ladies that didn't know about boxing yet that boxing and domestic violence go hand in hand, and not in the negative way, in the positive way.
We at Hope House want to thank Christy Martin for sharing her story. We also want to invite you to Hope House annual Believe Gala, where Christy Martin will share her story of survival live. Our annual gala occurs on Saturday, August 1st. This event brings the community together in an elegant evening to celebrate survivors of domestic violence. Every story deserves to be remembered, and every survivor deserves a future rooted in hope. Join us for our annual Believe Illuminating Hope Gala as we come together in support of survivors of domestic violence. Tickets are available at hopehouse.net under the Events tab. Thank you for listening to Illuminating Hope, a podcast of Hope House.